You ever feel like you're just swimming in a sea of letters? Behaviorism, EBA, ABA, what is the actual difference, and why in the world does it matter? Well, today we're going to make it all click. We are diving deep into a super foundational concept from Section A of the TCO, Item A.4. And trust me, getting this right isn't just about passing your exam. It's about really understanding the DNA of our field so you can think, talk, and act like a sharp, confident clinician.
So, let's be real for a second. Have you ever seen an exam question pop up with behaviorism, EAB, and ABA, and just felt your brain kind of fog up? Yeah, you are not alone. These terms get tangled up all the time, and you can bet the exam loves to test if you can pull them apart.
But you know what? That confusion stops today. I remember when I was studying, these all just felt like different words for the same thing. But then I started to think about it like a funnel, and everything just fell into place. So our goal right now is to build that exact same mental model together, so we can go from that blurry mess to crystal clarity.
All right, let's get started. We're going to begin at the very top, the absolute widest part of our funnel. We're talking about the big, overarching idea, the worldview that makes everything else we do even possible. And that is the philosophy of behaviorism. Okay, this is the most important part right here. Behaviorism is not the science itself. It is the philosophy that our science is built on. It's the core belief system, the fundamental idea that says, hey, you know what? Behavior isn't just some random, mysterious thing. It follows rules, it follows laws, just like physics, and we can actually use science to figure it out. This belief is why we take data instead of just going with our gut feelings. So to make this really stick, I want you to think of behaviorism as the constitution of our field. A constitution doesn't tell you how to run a specific program, right? But it lays down the big, non-negotiable principles that all the other laws have to follow. It's our "we hold these truths to be self-evident." It's our declaration that behavior is knowable.
Okay, so we've got our philosophical constitution. Now what do we do with it? Well, we have to take those ideas and test them. And that takes us into the lab. This brings us to the second level of our funnel, the experimental analysis of behavior, or EAB.
EAB is our basic science. That's it. Its entire purpose is pure discovery. You know, researchers in EAB, they create these super-controlled, sometimes sterile lab environments so they can isolate variables and figure out the fundamental nitty-gritty principles of how behavior actually works.
And the perfect picture of this is right on the slide. When you hear EAB, I want you to immediately think of Skinner in his lab with his pigeons, just meticulously studying schedules of reinforcement. He wasn't trying to fix a pigeon's personal problems, right? He was discovering the basic, universal laws of behavior. The goal here is knowledge just for the sake of knowing.
So, let's go back to our analogy. If behaviorism is our constitution, then EAB is our big research lab. It's where the brilliant scientists discover the fundamental laws of our universe, the universe of behavior. They're figuring out the gravity, the E equals MC squared of it all. It's the pure science that everything else we do is built on.
Okay, so we have our constitution and we have our physics lab that discovers all these cool laws. Now what? This is where we, as practitioners, finally get to step in. We have to take all that pure knowledge and actually do something with it. And that brings us to applied behavior analysis, or ABA. And here it is, the definition we all know and love. ABA is the applied science. We take those principles discovered way back in the EAB lab, things like reinforcement, extinction, stimulus control, and we apply them systematically to make a real, meaningful difference in people's lives. The key words you got to remember here are applied and socially significant. We are solving real-world problems for real people.
I mean, think about it. I've seen this 1,000 times. A researcher in an EAB lab might figure out the exact mechanics of differential reinforcement, but I'm the one in the clinic who uses that principle to teach a kiddo to say, I need a break instead of hitting. You see that connection? We are taking that pure science and putting it to work.
So to keep our analogy going, ABA is engineering. It's perfect, right? An engineer doesn't discover the laws of physics, but they are an absolute master at applying those laws to build bridges, to design cool technology, to create solutions. That's us. We are the engineers of behavior change, which, let's be honest, is a pretty awesome job title.
But being a BCBA is more than just being an engineer, isn't it? It's about the whole job. It's about the people, the ethics, the collaboration. And this brings us to the final and most comprehensive level of our funnel, professional practice.
Professional practice is the giant umbrella that covers everything we do. It absolutely includes the science of ABA, that's our core, but it's so much more. It's navigating those tricky ethical dilemmas. It's building real, collaborative relationships with parents and teachers. It's being a great supervisor. And it's approaching every single person we work with cultural humility.
And this, right here, completes our analogy. Professional practice is like running the entire construction company. You don't just engineer the bridge, that's the ABA part. You also have to follow all the building codes, which are our ethics. You got to manage your crew, which is supervision. And you have to work with the client every step of the way. That's collaboration. It is the whole shebang.
All right, we've built our model. It's solid. Now, let's sharpen it up. Let's turn this into a tool you can use to slice right through those tricky questions on the exam. So here it is, our conceptual funnel, all laid out nice and clean. Just remember this flow, from the big ideas down to the daily actions. It goes from the philosophical worldview of behaviorism to the basic science of EAB to the applied science of ABA, and finally to the all-encompassing act of professional practice. Each one builds on the one before it. Okay, everybody get your phones out because this right here is a screenshot moment. Seriously. This table is your cheat sheet for the exam. If a question mentions philosophy or theory, your brain should scream behaviorism. If you see words like lab or discovering a principle, you're in EAB land. Applied or intervention for socially significant behavior, that's your signal for ABA. And if the question brings up ethics, collaboration, or the entire service system, you know you're talking about professional practice.
Now let's just hammer home the pair that trips people up the most. ABA is the science. For instance, a discrete trial training procedure. That's ABA. But professional practice is the service. It's how we deliver that science. It's explaining DTT to the parents, getting their consent, training the RBT to do it just right. See, all professional practice uses ABA, but professional practice is not only ABA.
So, let's wrap this up with 3 key takeaways to lock this in your brain. Number 1, always follow the funnel. Philosophy to basic science, to applied science, to service delivery. 2, the easy way to think about it is AAB discovers the rules of the game. ABA uses those rules to win the game for our clients. And 3, professional practice is the whole job. The science, the ethics, the people skills, all of it. And I'll just leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Now that you have this really clear distinction, how does it change the way you talk about what you do? Next time someone asks, so what is ABA? You can give them a much richer, more complete answer. You can explain the science, sure, but you can also talk about the philosophy it's built on and the professional, ethical practice that brings it to life. This isn't just about passing a test, it's about owning your professional identity.